So much of life is about transforming and transformation. We're all transforming at some point or another, pivoting as we did through the pandemic. And transformations are ongoing. So I started my transformation tonight in the car, but now I'm in my office. And I just want to say hello, Boss Talkers, and welcome to Boss Talks Transformation, starting with me. It is your girl, Shawn LeRae, and welcome once again to Boss Talk. It's Wednesday, and y'all know at 6 o'clock, it is time for Boss Talk. That's bold, one of a kind, sensational superstars, and that's you. So I have had a transformation. As you all know, a woman's hair is considered her crown and glory, and I changed my crown and I went for the freedom of minimalism. So, thank you for tuning in tonight. And I also want to tell you about another transformation that we're having and a pivot that we have to do because, as you all know, the pandemic taught us all how to pivot. And so, I am going to be pivoting tonight because the guest that you read about in the show notes is not here. I don't know. I'm just praying that all is well with her. I must be transparent and let you know that she was planning to tune in from London, at which it is like somewhere around 3 in the morning. And so because of that, I gotta say that she probably sleep, y'all. And so I just want to thank her in advance for agreeing to come on, and we'll get her back on another time because she has some really amazing things that we were going to talk about tonight. She has a film. It's called Arise, Firebird, and that actually means she tells the stories of 3 women who were in the corporate world and who in the corporate world had corporate trauma. And it's a story about how they pivoted into their wellness. So stay tuned because we're going to bring her back at another time. But tonight we're just going to have a little fireside chat. And I want to welcome Lori James. Thank you, Lori. Hello. And thank you so much. Lori, it's been a long time coming. I've been talking about it and thinking about it. And it's almost summertime. And so I thought we would go and have a new hair transformation. And I want y'all to stay tuned because we're going to have some fun with it. I want to give a shout out to my girl, Rochelle Chappelle from the Healthy Hair Bar out in Monrovia. Yes, y'all, I traveled to Monrovia. From my house, it's only 30 minutes. And it was well worth it. She took the time to really work on my scalp and getting it healthy and getting it stimulated and all those kinds of great things. And so, Rochelle, I hope you're tuned in, girl, because I'm giving you a big old shout out as you well deserve it. She's amazing, y'all. And she knows all things hair. She put some product on that helps to kind of transform my curls and let my curls pop. And she gave me a little bit of some kind of healthy hair sort of color mask that she has put on my hair as well. I guess you have to be in the sunlight to kind of see the mahogany highlights of it, but we're going to keep playing around and having a good time with my hair. So stay tuned because as Boss Talk transforms, so will I. Hello, Dr. Thiele. Thank you for tuning in. Dr. Thiele was a guest a couple weeks ago. And thank you, darling. I appreciate the love. See, I turn this way so y'all can see it, and I'll turn this way so y'all can see it, and I'll do like that, and I'll even give y'all the bag view. How about that? It's really fun, and I really have to tell you how much I'm loving it. We were kind of like, it's been, I think the last time I actually cut my hair was 2014, 2015. And so it was kind of like, is my head still shaped the same? Am I gonna look the same? I'm a little bit older. How's that gonna be? And I gotta tell you, I am loving it. So I'm glad that you all are loving it too. So, as I said, we're going to have a little fireside chat tonight. So, I want to know who's on. So, I see some of you out there. I want to thank you, Philae and Lori, for popping in and saying hey. And I want to know who else is out there. So, if you're out there, let me hear from you. And I want to hear about your transformation. So, if you feel like you want to share, and I hope you will, let me know about a transformation that you have had in your own life, and what that was like for you. Hello, William Seals. Nice to see you. Thank you for being a regular. I always love when you come on the show. Hey, Connie Leathers is in the house. Thanks for tuning in, sister. I'll be seeing you sometime tomorrow afternoon for our board meeting. um Connie, what's a transformation that you've had to go through? I know we talked about some business things before. Can you tell us about a transformation? Can you type it in the chat? Philae, how about you? Lori, how about you? What kind of transformations have you all endured? And so yeah, let me know. I also want to talk to you all about my event that I had. Oh my gosh, when was it? It was April 30th. It was called Dating from the Soul, which I'm pretty sure I said that about you guys. And um, I told you what it was going to be. And Dating from the Soul was the idea to help women date from a place of knowing, loving, owning, honoring, and accepting self. And we had 12 beautiful women who were who were at rather the Holy Spirit Retreat Center, and it was amazing. Um, and they let's see. Well, we had first. I want to shout out Gwendolyn Goodman, who was one of my presenters, and Chantel Denise, both of whom you all have seen on the show. And they were co-hosts for me, with me for the show, and for the event. And we had a great time really getting in to these women, to their lives and to their dating lives and their experiences, and helping them to be open and talk about those experiences, and helping them to grow um, from some of the things that we talked about. So we had a first we had a mindfulness, to just get us started, to get us kind of setting our intention for the day, and talking about how we could kind of be intentional about our dating lives, intentional about our wellness, and living our lives in wholeness. And I think that that was one of the biggest takeaways for the evening, well, for the whole day actually, was to live from a place of wellness and completeness for yourself. So these women talked about how they had made mistakes in dating, and we actually gave a prize for the worst dating story. We also gave a prize for the best dating story, and we were really looking in at the things. We weren't blaming the men in our lives that we have dated, and we did have some funny stories, but we actually looked at ourselves, and we went inward and looked at some of the mistakes that we might have made um, in our dating lives, some of the choices that we made, some of the yeses that we gave when it should have been a no, some of the time that we spent dating someone or hanging out with someone when we should have probably said no thank you, and left my mother used to always say, a real lady knows what time to leave the party. And some of the parties we stayed at a little bit too long. And so we talked about those things as well. So it's been really good to reflect back on that day, because it was a rich day for us. And at the end, as you all might have heard, that we were going to have a panel of handsome gentlemen talk to us and answer questions and share their dating experiences and some of the things that they look for when they're looking for a woman that they want to spend time with, and spend more and more time with, and maybe take into the relationship space. And it was really eye-opening to hear from them, and exciting. And so I think that we're going to do it again, and we're going to create a Facebook group. The women were really bonded and had a great sisterhood experience too, which is, y'all know, that's what I love and what I'm all about. Thiele, what are you saying out there? Thiele said transformed from an employee mindset to a CEO boss mindset. CEO. Oh, I get it. Like CEO, only CEO. Oh, I got that. I like that. That's nice. I feel like dancing on that one. That one's good. So, yes. And listen, I 100% understand that mindset, because I am a CEO boss. Of course, this is Boss Talk, as y'all know. So I am a bold, one of a kind, sensational superstar, as you all are. And if you don't feel that about yourself, then you need to holler at your girl, because I need to remind you of who you are. Because if you are out there tonight, ladies, and you are not feeling yourself, if you're not feeling like you are amazing and fearfully and wonderfully made, that's how you become a boss chick. When you lean into your God-given, God-driven purpose. And so much of the time we step outside of that, y'all. And when we do that, we're locked in. We're locked in the box. We're stuck in the mindset of I cannot, I should not, I am not enough. And boy, if Chantel Denise is out there somewhere, Chantel Denise, it's time for you to pop in here and talk about women who live in their worth, because Chantel delivered that at the Dating from the Soul event. And she helped us to understand biblically what it looks like to live from a place of your worth. And if you're living in that and owning that worth, not because you think you're all that in a bag of chips, but because you know that you are a daughter of the Most High, and you get to live in that space because it is your birthright. And that's how everything else in your life can transform, when you are walking in your worth. And so Chantel Denise delivered that. I hope she pops on tonight and can tell us a little bit about that. So, Philae, I know that you worked for several major corporations, and now Philae is the chief executive consultant, I think. She can put it in the chat for y'all, because I don't want to mess it up. But she's a boss for sure. For sure. Lori said, sorry I missed your event. I'm recently divorced and back in the dating game after 29 years. Wow, Lori, girl, thank you for sharing that. And we'll make sure that you get invited to the Facebook group. So put your information in the chat so that we can reach back out to you, because I definitely would love to have you talk to us more about that story. In fact, how you feeling tonight? You want to pop on and chat a little bit? Let's have some fun. Would you be willing to come on camera? Because we can put a link in for you to come and join us, and we can talk a little bit more about that. Let me hear what you're saying. Or we can even just bring you on audio if you like. I'm going to put, now listen, everybody can come in here, and we can control it, so we can let you in. And so I'm going to, let me see if I can copy this link for you. or for someone to come on here and chat with us. That's Thiele, y'all. She says that CEO Thiele Thatch Consulting, find her at ThieleThatch.com. Absolutely. And listen, she has a lot of things going on there. If you are a boss lady out there running your business, have employees, then you need to know Dr. Thiele Thatch, because she is Mrs. HR, and she has HR in a box, which is amazing. And you all need to get that for yourselves, because you don't want to learn the hard way like I did about how to let's see, about what happens when you don't have your HR on point. Ooh, I got stories. But let's do this. Let's see who wants to come and chat with us. So I am putting in the chat right now, and it's in the chat, y'all. And I'm not going to put it on the screen because I ain't trying to have everybody jump up in here. But you can look in the chat, ladies. And if you want to come on tonight and chat with me live, let's do it. And you can, and again, if you're, because go look, I know sometimes we might have the bonnet on and all of that because we kick back at the house, and that's okay. You don't have to come on camera. You can let's just talk. Come on audio. Connie, what you think? You want to say something? Anybody want to say something? Mr. Seals actually was on the panel at the Dating from the Soul event. And so I don't know, maybe we want to hear from a gentleman tonight. Mr. Seals, would you be willing to come on and share? And we're going to talk a little bit about relationships. TT is driving. Thiele is driving. So we want to be safe. So when you get to your destination, holler. I have a tickle, so y'all forgive me. I get the vapors every now and again. Okay, so again, y'all, we just need your voice. So Lori, would you be willing to come in and chat tonight? I can tell you a little bit more about what we did at Dating from the Soul. Now, Gwendolyn Goodman, who is of One Solution, she is the CEO and founder of One Solution, which is a HR consulting firm also. So she provides executive training for HR situations, I guess I will say. But she also is trained in MBTI science to do personality profiles using the color spectrum, called True Colors. And so she was actually able to do personality profiles for the ladies, because I think it's important to know who you are. I call that stepping into your who you are-ness. It's my word. Don't be trying to steal it. I'm going to trademark it. But what it really means is living in your God-given, God-driven purpose, and actually allowing you to be authentic. I think that's the key. Living from a space of authenticity. And so really, we can, when we're living from that space, when we know about our own personality and our own temperament, then we also know how we can, how it, what that looks like when we're choosing a partner. And so I think sometimes, we try to, we're talking about transformation, but that doesn't mean that you transform out of some of who you are to shift into someone else for someone else. That's not what this is about. And so we also talked about dating authentically and dating from a place of knowing, again, who you are, loving yourself, honoring yourself, owning that space of who you are, and then accepting it. Because I think that sometimes there are things about us that we actually do like and enjoy and that don't need to be changed about us, but we don't accept it about ourselves. And so I think that's really important. Connie's saying something. She says, it seems the door is closing for women over 60 looking for someone her age. Young men want let's see, how they go? Young men want young women and old men want young women. Girl, you're making me fall out my chair. What do you think? Connie, listen, girl. I believe that there is still somebody out there for everyone. Now, as you all know, I am recently widowed and I am just stepping back out into the dating world after 2.5 years of getting to experience the love of my life, William Joseph, a man who loved me completely and fully, who was 13 years older than me. So maybe he was seeking younger woman too. I don't know, but I wasn't young. I was just younger. But the truth is, I am out there now. And, I think that it's all about mindset. I think all of it is about mindset. I think we have to believe that even though young men want young women, and some of them want older women too, by the way, Connie, because a couple of guys hit on me when I was out dancing for my birthday, and they was like 50 and 46 and things like that, and I left them alone because I didn't want to breastfeed nobody. But but seriously, I think it just depends on where you go, because I think that's important, and I think how you carry yourself, live, be alive. And I think that we as women who are of a certain age and a little bit seasoned, we have to still remain vibrant, because I think that's what's really important. As long as we are vibrant and radiant, there is a man out there who is looking for a grown up, who ain't trying to change no diapers and all that kind of stuff. No shade to you 30 somethings out there and all of that. But I think it's, there are some men who are still in search of having children, and they missed that window, and are older, but they're not looking for women who are their age because they still want to have a child. And I'm not mad at them. I don't think I'm mad at them anyway, but I don't think I'm mad at them, but I think that there's something that they might need to look within to see, because they might be missing out on something that could be really good for them and allowing them to live in a space of happiness and joy. And so I think that, that's something to consider. So thank you for that, Connie. I appreciate that question. I hope that I said something that might give you something to think about anyway. But you know what? We have a brave gentleman who has popped into the house tonight. So we're going to bring him actually on screen. So please, boss talkers, say hi to a regular boss talker, Mr. William Seals. Hey, William Seals, how are you, kind sir?
Oh, fine, thank you.
Good. Thank you for jumping on. How brave are you tonight?
I'm pretty brave.
Oh my goodness. Well, here we go. So you thank you for taking the challenge. The ladies wasn't feeling it tonight, but you said I'm coming on for the challenge. I appreciate that. So you were on the panel at Dating from the Soul. So tell me, first of all, like, what was that like for you?
It was pretty interesting that most of the men all desired the same thing from women: respect, love.
Interesting.
But the most important thing is just respect. That's the bottom line. Um, and that's it, really.
I love that. So I guess what's interesting to me is a lot of times women think that what's most important is to love their man, right? And so why is respect kind of, it sounds like anyway, that you're saying that respect trumps love.
Oh, all day, every day.
Really?
Because a woman could love you and be totally disrespectful.
Uh-huh.
You
Okay.
know, and
Okay.
you know, and
So she might not have good home training, but although she loves you, she may not have been taught what it looks like to respect a man.
right, she might be used to the street, and she figures, a brother ain't good for nothing but maybe having babies and bringing the bacon home. I don't know, but
Mhm.
some of their mouths and just the way they carry themselves, and we like feminine women.
Mhm.
We love women that are feminine, soft,
Okay.
not hard. You know,
Okay. So now what I'm hearing you speak about now is pretty controversial in this season, because people have been, talking about the masculine energy and the feminine energy, and how a lot of women, a lot of us are showing up with masculine energy.
Yeah,
So what does that look like in a relationship for you? If a woman shows up in masculine with masculine energy, what does that look like for you?
it's what does it look like?
Yeah, how
Well,
does that, tell me about that.
might be her mouth. She's very argumentative. Yes, I said that word. She always questions your authority.
Mm,
A lot of them won't follow a man's leadership because of their concept of what a man should be. So if you ain't a man, you ain't gonna get my respect, and I ain't gonna follow you.
mm.
Uh, I don't know what to say about all that. Yeah,
You just did, I think. I think you said it all right there. That's a mouthful. So let's talk more about that. Ladies, I want to hear from you out there. If you're in the audience and you are of the female persuasion, please let me hear your comments about what Mr. Seals is saying. He is saying that sometimes women show up in this masculine energy, and what that looks like is they are showing up in ways that are disrespectful to their men. They're not willing to follow a man's lead, and that men are turned off by that, I guess you're saying.
yeah, we are. That's why there's a lot of single women out there because men.
He went there, y'all.
Yeah, I'm just being real. I mean, they want a man, but once they get the man and the man evaluates, like we could evaluate within, you won't believe it, but within the first date, we could tell if this is going to work or not.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sometime a man's intuition will say, "Hey, let me give this a little more time. Let me see what this is all about." He may have judged a woman wrong, but
Mm.
usually we're right on the mark.
Okay. Has that ever happened to you?
Oh yeah. Uh, I've been in relationships where uh, when I was a young man, I was going to marry this woman. She was in love with me. Never gave me no problems. Graduate from UCLA, you know, and I was in a marriage at the time. She approached me. I said no, I don't. But so she said, well, if your marriage doesn't work out, would you please give me the first shot? Okay, the marriage didn't work out. Came back to her, uh, and everything was perfect, but I messed that up.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Okay.
still think about that today. I really messed that up. That would have been a marriage that probably I'd be still married to her today because we were compatible in a lot of areas. But the decision that I made to leave her was the most critical decision in my life. And I knew it. I said, this is a make or break decision. And my sister told me, bruh, I think you should stay with, her name was Carol. I think you should stay with Carol. But I know you're going to make the wrong, and I did. I made the wrong
You made the
decision.
wrong decision. And so you regret that. Well, what was the thing that made you make the wrong decision?
Oh, because I was in martial arts, she was a black belt in karate. Uh, she was athletic. I was athletic. She was built better than the other woman as far as physical traits, but psychologically, boom, no.
So you're saying that the reason that you chose not to stay with her was because there was a psychological disconnect there, like you guys weren't compatible in that area?
No, we were compatible in every area. I just went after looks.
Got it. Got it. So, oh, I'm hearing what you're saying now. So you were going after someone else's looks and chose not to be with Carol. And you recognize that as a huge mistake in your life. Well,
Was
thank you for sharing that, for being that transparent, because a lot of men might behave that way, but not be open and honest about those kinds of situations and about their mistakes. Oh, I want to say hello to someone out here. Hello, Sands. What's up, girl? Thanks for tuning in. I love you. Good to see you. That young lady and I go all the way back to Ohio University, 1917. Oh, never mind. Long time ago, just let's say, right, Debbie? Thanks for tuning in, Sans. So, okay. So let's see here. We got a question for you, William. So Connie says, William, do you think men like or appreciate women with Southern culture, old-fashioned ideas, or is that a turnoff? She wants to know.
Well, let me tell you this about Southern culture. We love it.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay. Well, all you Northern girls out there, men love the Southern culture. So, what is it about that? Let me ask that question. What is it about the Southern culture that men like?
Because they know how to be. They're domesticated women. They've been probably raised by their grandmama. They got that Southern hospitality.
Getting yourself in some
They're
trouble.
nice to their men. As far as what I know, it's just they're a different quality of women.
Okay.
Women out here, usually in Southern California or wherever I'll just say Southern California, they're listening to these women, this music that is so diabolically, yeah, it's not, you know what I'm saying? It's a different brand of women.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you for coming on and sharing that. I think that it's important that we look at at men's opinions or thoughts and experiences about their relationship stuff. So y'all know William Seal said that men love Southern culture. They also a prize for them is respect. They want to be respected, and so I
Right.
think we have to honor that and understand that. And so I appreciate your saying that. So let's have a conversation. We have uh, someone else who's going to come on, but I also want to acknowledge that my guest from tonight is here, and so I want to bring her on and let her join the conversation. So let's just have some more fun, y'all. I love this. I love this. I love this. But I want to tell you a little bit about my guest, and so you hang tight there, William. I want to tell you about Miss Jimmy Okubanu. So Jimmy is a producer, a film producer, and she produced a film called Arise Firebird. Now, if you all know that a firebird's job, its purpose is to give light and to radiate. So I'm going to let Jimmy tell you more about why she chose that as the name for her film. But I want to tell you a little bit also about the reason that she did this film, because Jimmy was working in corporate America before she became an amazing producer. And in that position, she found herself being traumatized by some of the things that were happening in the workplace, things such as racism, sexism, unfair treatment, dismissal, invisibility, all those kinds of things. And those behaviors wreaked havoc on Jimmy's mental health. And so this is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so what better time to talk about this film? And this is a film that's getting a lot of buzz, and we want to help it get more buzz because, as you all know, I am an advocate for women and for mental health, and for particularly women of color, which I am, can you tell? And so is Jimmy and the three women who are featured in her film. So without another word from me, Boss Talkers, please welcome to Boss Talk, Jimmy Okubanjo. Hi, Jimmy.
Hi, hello, Sean.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the really kind introduction as well. It's so great to be here at 2:37 in the morning in England. But I'm so excited to be here.
Listen, if I had a prize for you, I would prepare it and send it over to you right now because you are a rock star. So, y'all, I did not say that Jimmy lives in London and has gotten out of the bed, I'm sure, at 2:37 a.m. to be here with us tonight. So, y'all, show her some love in the chat. Please show Jimmy some love in the chat, y'all, because Listen, and she only saw my face for the first time in her whole life, and me hers yesterday as we got together to chat about her film. And I sprung this on her then. And so it was already, what time was it when we chatted? I think it was, what time was it your time?
It was probably around, I think around eight, around say 6 o'clock in the evening.
Okay, so it was about 6 in the evening when she and I met yesterday. And that was the first time she had ever heard of Boss Talk. And so Debbie, my soror, says, much respect to you. Thank you. Philae is sending you some hearts. And
Received.
Gigi is saying, hi, Jimmy, welcome. And thank you for your sacrifice. Absolutely. Well, Jimmy, we were filling the space before you came on with a conversation about relationships, men and women's relationships. And I recently, along with my friend Gwendolyn Goodman and my friend Chantel Denise, we did an event called Dating from the Soul. And it was about dating from a place of knowing, owning, loving, and accepting one's self. And so we were talking, and William was on a panel that we had, a panel of gentlemen at the end. We brought in a little eye candy at the end for the ladies. And the ladies had the opportunity to ask the men questions about relationships and about dating. And so I'm just going to ask you this, and then we'll delve into that conversation about Arise Firebird. But what are your thoughts when you hear that men actually crave respect in a relationship? And essentially what they're saying is that respect is first and then love in what they crave from a woman. What are your thoughts on that, Jimmy?
So I think my area of expertise where I'm qualified to speak. And I think I'm not entirely sure I'm the best person to talk to about relationships. But I would say that from the work I'm doing, the Rise Firebird, I think everybody values respect. Everybody wants to know that they and honor. And what I find from my work, and just translating that into the workplace for women of color, I think at the heart of a lot of the mistreatment and the pain that women went through is, we overcompensate because we want to be honored and valued and seen as being worthwhile and worthy. So I think it's a fair thing. I would imagine any relationship, regardless of gender, to be treated with honor and dignity.
Yes.
And I think it's definitely a good place to start from. I couldn't imagine anyone, whether I'm going to, and I know it's an oversimplification again, not so much my area of expertise, but I would imagine if I was going to go to a fast food joint and I was going to order some amazing, fried chicken. I'm Nigerian, so we do like that. It's that's what I'm coming from with this. I'd want to be treated with respect from the person behind the counter serving me, regardless of the size of my order. So they would want respect for me, regardless of their speed level or competency level. So I do think for human being, I think it's really important, and I do wonder again, in just being in a relationship from just a human to human standpoint, um, can you love someone if you don't respect them? And that goes again both sides of it for all genders, right? So, what would that look like? What could love look like without respect from either side?
Oh, I like that. That's a whole other conversation. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And you're right. And I think that is something that we do definitely crave as women, is respect as well. And I think that in some ways respect shows up differently when you go to when you look at it from a male female perspective. And I think that for us, respect is treating us well. And I think that is exactly what you're talking about. That can go both ways, and that should go both ways. And with the same thing, I think that men who are looking for respect just need to be certain that they are willing to give what they ask for. And many of them are. And so I think that's when the relationship is actually working, when there's mutual respect and love in a relationship. And That's what I think about that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's get into this conversation. Oh, wait, we got one more thing. Hold on. Gwendolyn asks, are men trustworthy as leaders who are saying they want women they can lead to date, or just expecting a woman to follow against her better interest if he isn't a man she has built trust with? Thank you for that, Gwendolyn. That is absolutely a good point. And I think that's essentially what Jimmy was saying as well. And I think that I think in the case of William Seals, and knowing what he said at the event when he did talk about this, I think in his case we are looking at a man who is being a person who can lead and worthy of a woman's followership because of the way that he will treat the woman with those same kind of mutual respect. However, I think one of the things that many women do say when the question comes up from a man asking for respect is, there are a lot of men out here who are not respecting women in the ways that they are being and showing up in the relationship space, and even in the dating space before they get to the place of relationship. So you are dead on with that, my sister, 100%. So, so I wonder, Jimmy, why do you say that you're not the best person to ask about this?
So I think when it comes to it being an expertise, especially like relationships, I'm definitely, I'm still, I'm single, happily single. I do. I mean, I do like being single. I mean, open in case anyone's out there, but you know, but
She's
at the
open.
same,
She said it right here on Boss Talk. Y'all heard it here first. Okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
And but part of that journey, even from my work working on the Rise Firebird, was really kind of sitting down with myself and really being honest about who I actually am. So when and so I find that the way I've shown up in relationships has been very consistent with the way I would show up at work, which is, what do I need to do for this person to feel that I'm worthy? Versus who am I? Who has God made me to be, and how can I be more like that? Because the truth is, that's the person really, that's the only person I can be. And how can I be the best, most compassionate, wisest, kindest, funnest, zaniest, jimmiest thing I can be? So, and I think everyone should, I think Debbie should Debbify her life. And I think Sean should really live in a very Shonified way.
Yes, indeed.
What does that mean? And I just try to be Jimmier.
Yes, Jimmy, I love that. Girl, you just are speaking my language. I make up words. I love it. So I have a word that I call stepping into, in fact, your who you are-ness. And that is exactly what you're saying. When you're Jimmified and Shonified, Sean Larreified, and all of that. And so I totally love that. And I think also that's what the event was about, was dating from a place of who you are and bringing that to the relationship fully, wholly, completely, and unapologetically. So, girl, you should have been in the house. We'll get you at the next one. Now, I'm gonna take one more relationship thing, and then we're going to jump into this film. So Alan says, I don't believe you can love someone if you don't respect your partner, especially where you are a strong, responsible man who can be that example, especially if you have daughters. 100%, my brother. Alan Shea was on the panel as well, along with William. I want to shout out, let's see, I want to shout out Ryan, who y'all go to Ryan's app. It's called First Date on not his app, his game. It's First Date Game on Instagram. And I want y'all to go and get that game and go follow him, because he has a lot of great questions and conversations that he has started about dating. So he was on the panel. Also, shout out to Dr. Lance, who was also on the panel, and he is a silver fox and an amazing man, a speaker, an economist. and we enjoyed having him on the panel as well. And we had a younger man on the panel because we had some young women in the event as well. And so shout out to Chris Watkins, who said that he was actually there loving the learning that he was actually able to get from the gentlemen who were on the panel. Shout out again to Mr. Seals. And I think that made up our panel, right? Five, was that five? I'm gonna go back around the table as I see it. Dr. Lance, Chris, Alan Shea, William Seals, and Ryan. And right now, Ryan's last name escapes me. But again, go to IG and find him at First Date Game. So let's jump into this conversation about Firebird, Arise Firebird. So first of all, tell us about the name, because I was really inspired by what you said when we spoke yesterday.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm gonna try and also pull up the poem. So maybe at some point I will read part of the poem, if that's okay, if the audience is open to that.
Yes, absolutely, they will be very excited.
So initially the movie had been called Vanishing Women. Why women of color are fleeing the workplace. And to be fair, if that would probably be maybe act 2 of the movie. And if one day I would do a horror movie, if we're able to raise the funds for that, when we raise the funds for it, it would be called Vanishing Woman, and it will be a movie around a found footage horror film around being a Black woman in the workplace.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
A piece of that would be something I would love to do. We probably will do one day. But Vanishing Women, it all said it in the name. We're leaving the workplace, the professional space. But the name really began to not be the right fit as I began to interview and meet these women and just hear the actual transformation and hear just the fire that's in them. And I found for myself that, it just felt, if this is something I'm going to be talking about for years, even for myself, and talking about gemifying an issue, did I want to be talking every day about vanishing women, about this from the place of that we are in pain, and that be the main story. And it also was, vanishing women leaving the corporate world. I mean, limited to corporate professional women, which is not just who we're talking to, but it told the story from the perspective of the perpetrator, that from their standpoint, women are vanishing. Why are we leaving the corporate world? As if that is like the goal. And it implies that the answer is, well, to have them not vanish and stay in the corporate world. Arise Firebird had been something I'd been saying for years, around the fact that, a Firebird's job is to shine brightly, and a Firebird can't help but shine and show her light. And she has to shine brightly, or she will, she'll cause damage to herself. It's like taking a kerosene lamp, and trying to hide it under your bed. It's going to burn up your house. It's just, it has to be allowed to sit out and shine. And if you have a little, otherwise it's not good for the light itself or anyone around it. Yes, and I wanted the film to talk about that, because these are women who are really talented, really amazing, very passionate, lovely people. I speak many in the film. 2 of the 3 women are married, and their husbands talk about. There's one man. We cut this from the film, but he said that he can't get enough of his wife. He really can't get enough of her, and how much he finds her so amazing. And so these are people who have a lot to offer in relationships and professionally, and they got to a point where they had begun to accept they really weren't good at what they did because of the environment they were put in. Because my story is one of the stories featured in that movie. So the Arise Firebird is, actually them remembering and reconnecting with who they are, and ascending and doing amazing work, and then transcending that pain, and again finding joy again in some manner of work.
I love that. And I appreciate your telling that story and your transparency and saying that that was your story as well. So I want to, well, first of all, let me do this real quick, just a little housekeeping. I want to thank William and Gwen, who was going to pop on too, and just say we're transitioning over now to talk about Arise Firebird, but I want you two to stay around in case we want to get some of your comments on this amazing feature film. So stick around, y'all, as we talk about this. But I know that I am a woman who was in the corporate world, never did well there, but I always thought it was my fault. And certainly I do have ADHD, and it was certainly not their job to entertain me. However, there was never this space for me to grow and spread my wings in the ways that honored who I was. And so each time I would get climbing, I would just find myself in spaces where there was no praise for the hard work that I was doing, yet somebody who did not look quite like me got the praise. And in my very last corporate position, I actually was let go because I learned of something that the person who was what's the word, promoted over me, was doing some things that she had absolutely no business doing and covering up mistakes. And when I went to HR to speak about that, lo and behold, I was let go. And so I felt that pain and I felt that space of, well, what's wrong with me? And I'm a woman now of a certain age, and how am I going to find my space? But I remembered, what I really remembered is ever since I was a kid, I was an entrepreneur. I was finding ways to make something happen for myself. Started out, shout out to Auntie Terry if she's out there, but we started out getting Christmas things for Christmas. One of us would get the popcorn popper, the other would get the popcorn. One of us would get the projector, the other would get the movies. One would get the snow cone machine, the other would get the stuff for the snow cone machine. And we showed movies and charged our friends to come and watch the movies, and we charged them for the snacks. So there's an entrepreneur that was living inside me. And but more out of the necessity before even the necessity of living according to my own shape, was the fact that I was not being celebrated, honored, praised, or accepted for the greatness that I was bringing to the job that I had in corporate America, in someone else's world. So I felt that, and I felt sad about that, and I turned that inward, just as you mentioned the women that are featured in the film do. And I want to talk about the mental health concerns around that, because you use the word that living in the trauma and having to heal trauma. And when someone thinks about work, you certainly don't want to consider that it's trauma. That's, it's not supposed to be that way. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, so I think that, I don't know if it's not supposed to be that way, Sean, because I feel like that's a really big statement to say that for all workplaces, they're supposed to be healthy. If you look at the history of work, and this goes back to my being a business graduate, having 2 degrees in business, and maybe one day I might do a PhD in the history of the corporate world.
Ooh, come on.
There's a lot in like corporate history, but when it comes to, and by corporate I mean not necessarily like for profit, but like large employment, where people are coming together, like leaving the farms, the villages, and coming into the cities and taking jobs in large organizations, whether bureaucracies or religious organizations or nonprofits. We're getting thousands of people coming together to work in a way that I guess never really existed in society at a scale. I mean, the kinds of corporations and the kind of governments that are being built haven't widely existed. I think of the Chinese bureaucracy of the again 1000 AD, 1500 AD. Maybe I think that may be examples of large bureaucracies that existed
Mm-hmm.
years ago, but it's not. It's a new thing really for us as a as a human race, relatively new in the human race, to have organizations that are this large, that are not community or ethnic based, that are not around. We live in an area, we have a wall around us, and
Right.
rally up and send people to war. We're not going to. We're unified over that. Yeah, well, I'll get my stress out by just killing a bunch of our enemies. Yeah, okay. I feel better now. I kind of feel like I let that go. We don't have that kind of release.
Yes.
Um, and I'm grateful we don't. I'm grateful they don't give us strength. Okay, now
Yes.
go attack the competition. Yeah, Johnson and Johnson Plumbing versus Greg and Mark Plumbing. Let's go.
Let's go fight it out.
Yeah. I am grateful that is not how it's done, but I do think that this is on the scale of human existence. This kind of socializing is relatively new.
Mm-hmm.
So when we say, is it how it's supposed to be? I don't even think we really know how it's supposed to be.
That's interesting. That's a really interesting take on it.
But I feel like for a woman, so I'll say it for me as being a Black woman, I was always told that I need to take full responsibility for any situation I'm in. For me to be successful professionally, I've got to kind of, just work harder and make it happen. I've got to work, 4 times as hard, 7 times as hard, 10 times as hard. And I'm curious if any of your viewers can resonate with that kind of expectation. You're going into this space, you've got to put in 4 to 5 times the work, but at least to be seen as not even as competent, but at least to be allowed to keep your seat.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Competency requires something like a super level of commitment, and also to have that amazing positive attitude, be happy and clappy,
I love it. Happy and clappy. I love that. Do the dance. Do the dance.
Exactly. I think of the circus music in the background.
Yes, indeed. Well, what's interesting is that the part that you just said about being, twice as competent and working twice as hard and all of that, that we're as Black children, we are taught that from the first grade.
And
in America, anyway, I don't know. When you grew up here, you grew up in the Midwest, like me.
Yeah, I went to high school in Nebraska. I definitely found that one had to push even harder to be seen. And it, obviously, from a corporate standpoint, for a professional standpoint, it works until it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
As an individual contributor, as someone who, if my job is to, be a salesperson, and I'm oversimplifying, hypothetically putting in more hours, working the weekends, being nicer can push through. You can push through that. Absolutely. To some extent. When you're now the division leader of 400 people, right? You can't, it's, working over. Yes, we will still do that extra work. It's not going to work if you can't mobilize your team.
Yeah. And
that's where, so what happened, the pattern for some women, and it's not necessarily 400, it could be 3 people, a team of 3 people. Exactly. You need other people to work for you to be successful. Right. You cannot overtime John from billing doing his work because you work in sales. Like you can't jump over and take, right. You get to a point where you just cannot jump the fence and do their work the way when we're younger we could, because as one becomes more senior, the work becomes more specialized.
Right.
So I'm going to give a super technical example. Let's suppose I am selling, I'm not real estate because I don't know that industry, but let's suppose I'm selling maybe real estate. There we go. Let's say I'm trying to sell some very specialized commercial property that requires some sort of geological assessment, right? I may spend my evenings, my weekends, trying to talk to clients, doing the extra work to make sure that all our reports are ready, that all the pitches are ready for our commercial clients. But the geology assessment must be done by a geologist.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I am not a geologist. There's no way, no amount of overtime I can do that will produce that report. Ted has to do it. And Ted will not do it. And nobody will make Ted do it.
Right.
And they now say, I'm having a problem because I can't get my work done. I can't find a way to motivate Ted. I can't find a way to make him love his job. No one is saying the fact that Ted is refusing to do this work, but Ted is doing this for all the other people. So even working hard and doing overtime isn't going to move that. And so I will then internalize, how could I be nicer to Ted? Could I make him cookies? Do I, again, going back to this, the dancing, happy and clappy, I'll juggle Ted, juggle some balls in the air, entertain him, do some dancing, and maybe all of this stuff. I've literally had to sing for people.
Wow.
Literally, to try to get Ted to want to do my work, because he's a senior vice president of blah, 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 blah division, and he's happy to spew all kinds of crap. And people let him get away with it as long as it's directed toward me. Right. And many people have a TED. Every company has everyone can point to at least, at any given time, I would say 4 TEDs in the workplace.
Come on.
They are problematic. Sometimes Ted's a woman.
Yes.
Sometimes Ted is a man of color.
Yeah, they call her Karen.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Terrible Ted. No, everyone has a Ted, and sometimes Ted could be a Black woman. But I find overwhelmingly Teds don't look like me.
Yeah.
And there's several, and everyone knows they're problematic, and they're just saying, well, yeah, just get on with it. But they don't realize he's coming after, what he can't get away with everybody else, he's doubling down and not even trying with me.
Yes.
And it's now my problem, the fact that no one else is going to support and handle the TED issue, and they don't handle it. And guess what? We leave and Ted is still there. But the point is, well, why do you leave then, Jimmy? You let Ted win if you walk away. How is walking away from an abusive relationship being the loser?
Absolutely. Come on, girl. Say that one more time.
How is being in an abusive relationship, how does that make me the loser? What do I win?
That's it.
By continuing to work with not just Ted, because Ted is not the issue. Ted, whoever your Ted is, isn't the issue. It is the fact that people around him, the bosses, the other senior executives, let Ted continue doing that. They are the issue.
Exactly.
Because
the enablers and the okayers.
And I feel to give it a more sinister word,
Please do.
Not even like, it's like, if Ted was assaulting people physically, causing physical damage and injuring people, and the senior executives allowed that to happen. They allowed him to come into work and take out a knife and start stabbing people, and they knew it. They would be, in some parts of the world, and in some parts of the US, they probably face charges for that.
Accomplice.
They wouldn't be, but as a leader of an organization, they wouldn't just be an accomplice as a boss, but they actually could be seen as, it's like they have created the environment by their design. It's like why companies sue why people sue corporations for food poisoning, right? Because they're not accomplice. It's like they're liable because they have created that environment.
Oh yeah, there's the word.
You come to my house, and I know I have a crazy guy who runs around my house with a knife, and you come to, and I invite you to my house. Right. They won't call me an accomplice, right? They probably call me the mastermind. Yeah, come over, Sean Leray. Have a great time, And I know that I have a Ted running around the blade, stabbing people in my home.
Yeah,
it's not an accomplice.
No, I love that. That's
really, you're the mastermind, architected this.
That's it, architect. I like that one.
And I think that's the word. They're architects.
Yes, that is so good. What is Terry?
No, we're just no. You are, because you are the ones that have the ability to actually stop this by simply saying, you know what, Ted, we love you, but please,
behave.
You need to leave right now. You need to, here's security. take your things,
And
here's
go.
some holy water, whatever that thing is that's possessing you. We'll sprinkle it on and then leave.
Jimmy, you're funny. I love it. I love that. But that's the great, I really get the picture of that now. And I hope you all do out there too, boss talkers. Terry says, hey, sorors. When we are working in the corporate arena, yes, we do work harder, but sometimes where we fail because we do not have someone coaching us to be better or a mentor to learn from their experiences. Well, I think yes, 100%. I get that, and I think that that's why this movie, this film, this feature is so important, because these people are telling, these women are telling their stories. And the thing that also what a coach is good for, as you well know, Terry, is for when that transition needs to happen, when all of our efforts fail, even the mentors suggestions, because that can happen as well. When that happens, we also need a coach to help us make that pivot going forward.
I would say, Terry, it's an interesting concept about coaching and mentoring, because I think one of the assumptions that I used to make, and I'm not saying this is what you're saying, but just this is what has come to me from that, and it's reminded me, is the assumption that I somehow am at fault. And so I've not done enough. So I go into a coaching relationship with, what can I do better? And that's a very faulty place for us to go to, considering, again, let's consider, like a lot of the women, there is a series of TEDs in your workplace. And bring it back. So I'm coming into work with, there's a man in my company who runs around with a knife, stabbing people. I would like some coaching and mentoring. So you need a coach who understands that's the kind of damage they're doing to you, because some women, and I'm talking about African American women as well, who've shared with us their stories, talk about wanting to take their lives because of their work, because of how they're made to feel. This is what we're playing with. When someone comes in and says, okay, when all else fails, then leave. You don't have to wait till all else fails. You don't need to be sitting to have now for someone to have made the attempt to take their lives and that has failed before choosing to leave. Please, I want people to understand, if you can walk in day one and realize they have a bunch of TEDs running around, salivating, their mouths watering when they see you walking in. You don't have to go back. You can decide in that moment, I need to look for somewhere else to be. I give you that permission. You don't need someone else to even see it.
Yes.
You just know. Just looking at those people, they're like,
wait, I have to tell you, this is hilarious. One of my producers said that sounds like a Lifetime movie. Here he comes! No, I get it, and I do think that I love the gravity with which you are speaking, because again, it tears away this kind of scenario. And when Ted just is relentless and nobody can see him, but you're the one that's really invisible, but Ted is right there, but nobody sees what he's doing, then that you do turn that in. And when we turn things inward on ourselves, then we are setting up that we are just completely making the palette for depression, anxiety, suicidality, because when most of the time when suicide enters the picture, there is this feeling of hopelessness and that there is no other answer to this problem. There's no other solution. And to imagine, again, I go back to, this is a place where you work. So it's not like somebody could say, well, like when the doctor says, when I turn my head like this, it hurts. Well, don't turn your head like this. But we can't say, well, don't go to work, because then you don't have, that's your livelihood. And so that's the fear, the big thing.
And that's a big thing. We have to understand, it's not just my livelihood, right? It is my ability to support my children.
Yes.
It is my retirement. For many of us, we made sacrifices.
Yes.
So we could have this career. We chose not to go out with that really amazing, Swedish 6'3" model slash brain surgeon slash actor, so we could, work. We chose not to go on
Right.
vacation. We didn't
Right.
go to picnic. We didn't do those things.
Right.
We hit the books. We really hit the books at school. We made sacrifices.
Yes, indeed.
And then because we believed it would pay off when we came into this space, and it's like, I think that adds to that pressure of, if this doesn't work, what do I do? And then so going back to the mentor and coaching comment,
Okay.
you then go into a mentor and a coach who doesn't understand any of, they come from the standpoint of, okay, how do you work even harder? When maybe that isn't the way to go, because it's like you're always assuming I'm at fault. And so this comes back to this notion. I'm going to borrow very badly addiction recovery concept of harm reduction.
Yes.
Focus on harm reduction strategies.
Mm-hmm.
You're in this company where you're struggling. How do we make the best of that situation?
Right.
Your work, you're already doing 3 times the work. The emotional labor is also labor. You're doing the work, emotional labor, you're working the extra hours, you're not getting that result. How do you do even more?
Right.
That seems to be where a lot of that conversation is focused.
Right.
That's not a sustainable strategy.
Yeah.
And so they now say, okay, but the questions that I think we want to explore in the film is, what will it take? What does it look like to be able to stay in the game longer?
Mm-hmm.
It may mean playing the game differently. It may mean playing a slightly different game. Because also for a lot of us, as Black women in the United States and the UK, we have the shortest life expectancy.
Come on now.
So the reality is that I'm not just doing this. I'm not going to stay in that place for Ted simply because I want to prove I can be there. And then, I'm someone's, and then 55 years old, someone feels that her body gives out at 55, and what really won because they've been right.
Absolutely, Jimmy. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So when it comes to mentoring and getting that support, I think we need to understand, going back to the issue about failure, what do we mean by failure, and what is success? Is success earning abundantly, doing work I love on my own terms? Is that success, or is success being the senior VP of the Southeast region of Johnson XYW Corporation? And is that the only thing I have to be successful? Could I be a VP of another division? Could I be an expatriate and do work as an American international expatriate? And I think there's a massive premium for American expatriates of any ethnicity. That's one where the American passport gives you privilege.
Yes.
That's the way to stay in the corporate world and have a bit more freedom. But I think whether one stays as in employment for someone else or on their own, I think the conversation needs to be around, how do I stay in the healthiest environment? Because here's another thing. I had a chance to work for a company, and I had a very big portfolio. I had 2,500 projects. I had oversight over P&L over $500 million. I did not have basically I couldn't get access to a full-time accountant.
Wow.
So they wouldn't give me one, and the person they gave, I couldn't. Let me just put it that way: I could not get a full-time accountant. I could not get a full-time HR person. There was no way
that this was going to happen otherwise. Right?
Without. So it's all about a mentor. It's the coach. I go over to coach and mentor. No, the coaching and mentoring I needed was, Jimmy, either you need some degree of holy water. You go back to your tribe and get some of the good juju, the good stuff.
The real good stuff.
And just start sprinkling it around. Or you need to find a place that will set you up for success.
Right.
How do you survey the environment you're going into?
Absolutely.
And be clear, what are your critical success factors that you need going into a job? So as a person, I can't work here. This is not something I can take on and be successful. So I'm just, we can make better decisions. And I think I never had access to that in terms of, yes, I got the offer. Now let's understand what they're offering. And are they offering it to me? Because Ted with all his crazy, would look at that job and say, "F you, this is insane. I'm not doing this. What can no?" I would
And bye,
refuse.
boy. And bye.
Ted would refuse that job, and they wouldn't give it to him, but they give it to me because I'm so eager, and I'm gonna black girl magic this thing even if it kills me.
Ooh, girl, thank you for that. That is rich. Black girl magic this thing even if it kills me. And that is the statement of the night, I think. Gwendolyn says you have to give yourself permission to save yourself from something, someone, or a job that doesn't serve you. And that is what this has been all about. So let's just read you a couple of comments. We have got to go, but Jimmy, we have to bring you back for like part 2 of this story. But I do want to give you a moment to share about how they can find you and what your plans are for the film and all of that. Let's see. You can have a great coach, but the Teds of the world will make you look very incompetent in the eyes of others. And you can be the greatest thing since sliced bread, said William Seals. Thank you. So I also, let's see, what else we got here? Book screening and connect. Yes, with Jimmy Okubanjo. That's supposed to be a J, y'all. Forgive us. At this website right here, www.arisefirebird.com. I want to give William Seals an opportunity to come back and just comment really quickly on the story here. Jimmy, I am so sorry that we have to stop because we've been on for like 70 minutes. And I want to thank all of you boss talkers out there for hanging with us. This is really good stuff. Would you say? Absolutely. So, William, what you thinking?
I really feel bad about how she had to run into into a TED. You know, she's very qualified to do what she's doing, but this one knuckle brain refuses to help this beautiful Black woman because he doesn't want her to shine.
And that's what the Firebird is all about.
Yeah.
Arise, Firebird. Thank you.
I don't know. Was that a true? Now, was that a true incident that happened as far as the geologist, or was that just a scenario?
It's a hypothetical for a type of person.
Oh, okay.
Like, and typically, I found there are multiple TEDs in an organization at any given time.
Absolutely, at any given time. Well, thank you, William, for tuning in, for being so brave earlier to come in and talk about relationships and to give a final wrap comment on Arise Firebird and on Jimmy's scenarios. And we thank you so much. And we'll see you next week in the audience. And if the opportunity comes back, we'll pull you right back in again. Thank you so much. Good night. Thank you for coming on and for hanging out with us. So, Jimmy, I think we want to put your information up again. So, y'all, please, for bookings, book screening and connect with Jimmy here at arisefirebird.com. We are going to be working together to figure out how to get a screening going, and we will keep you all posted on that. But I also would love to have you back, Jimmy, because we've talked about the problem, but I'd love to have you back to talk about some of the solutions. Absolutely. And I'm sorry, but we'll let you get a nap in between now and then, a little bit of rest, and then we'll bring you back out of bed again in the near future. So you all listen, please stay tuned, because we are going to be bringing a screening of Arise Firebird to the very U.S. In the very near future. And so we'd love to keep you posted on that. Girls Like Me Global said, what a beautiful show. We could listen to you all drop these gems forever. The gift in each of you are rare, rare, rare. Keep shining. Girls like me need women like you. That's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. Thank you so much. And this is where you can connect with your girl, Sean LeRae, at www.livinglovedhealing.org, livinglovecoaching.com, and on Instagram, it's at livinglovedhealing. Facebook is the same. Now, we really want to thank you all. I want to thank you, Gwendolyn, for being ready to pop in here. And we will have to have an opportunity to chat about our reflections on Boss Talk, and we will get that up in the near future. So you can find us here every week, every Wednesday at 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, if you're in London, you got to add 8 hours to that and see us the next day on Thursday. Um, it's that Pacific Standard Time. We love you all and thank you once again for coming on to Boss Talk. And as I mentioned earlier today, just like my hair, we will continue to have transformations. This is Boss Talk with your girl, Sean LeRae. And y'all know what that is: bold, one of a kind, sensational superstars. And that's you. And y'all know what to do. Live loved. Shalom, y'all. Peace.